I can't see a world in which I would be bringing my wife and children back to the UK at this point.
Nearly 80% of the populace.
Well, I never thought I'd see the day, considering they hated us so much.
Icing Harry and Meghan. They are coming back. They have said they're coming back.
Stay to the end, because Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's return to Britain is no longer just a family move. It looks like a sequence, timed, managed, and hidden until the last possible moment. 2 dates show when the decision was really made. The palace line about King Charles being blindsided starts to collapse, and one line from inside the Sussex camp suggests this move was never built to last. For 6 years, Britain was cast as the racist little island, the backward kingdom, the trap that bullied them into submission. Yet now the same couple are walking back into the country they made their warning sign. That is not contradiction. That is pressure. That was the country they left behind. Racist, cruel, hostile, and impossible for their family.
I just thought we were a racist little island, backwards, miserable, rains too much, the press here is horrible, their own family have bullied them into submission. So off they set, didn't they, to go to Montecito.
According to the story sold to the world. But this week, the story changed without apology. Suddenly, Britain was not too dangerous. Suddenly, Britain was not too toxic. Suddenly, the place they escaped became the place they needed. Within hours, the official line appeared. Nobody saw it coming.
I think many things are going on. So the reporting that the Daily Mail has is that Charles himself was blindsided by this news. You know, they were just in the UK. Harry just had that meeting with the king at Highgrove. The reporting is that he never mentioned a peep to the king.
Not even the king. Palace silence is never empty. When a line this convenient stands, it protects someone. Prince Harry had already sat with King Charles at Highgrove weeks earlier. According to the same reporting, he said nothing about uprooting his life. Meghan, Archie, Lilibet, or returning to Britain. Lady C does not accept that version, and her refusal changes the story. Read the logic slowly. If she knew, then the king knew. Her position is that information was already circulating among people who get briefed, close enough to hear movement before headlines. So, the only party truly shocked was not the palace. It was the public. That means blindsided may be doing work it was never supposed to survive. This was not ignorance. This was the 99th hour. Not a king abandoned in confusion, but a king informed late and deliberately. If Harry only told Charles at the last possible moment, the mystery is what Harry was waiting for. Hold that question, because the timeline gets darker. They are all moving there now. Meghan, Harry, Archie, and Lilibet. The same family Harry once said he could not imagine bringing back. 15 months separate that refusal from this return. 15 months between I can't see a world and stepping into that world. Britain did not transform. The press did not become gentle. The royal family did not become welcoming. The security battle did not disappear. So if Britain did not change, something across the Atlantic did. That is where Lady C drops the claim that turns royal drama into escape. Danger of handcuffs. A royal biographer with 40 years of sources saying Prince Harry could be arrested on entry to the United States. That claim becomes the center of gravity. If the fear was legal exposure in America, the return to Britain stops looking like reconciliation and starts looking like retreat. Lady C's calculation is brutal. Leave the country, and maybe the country loses interest. But whatever exists in America does not vanish because someone boards a plane. Whatever was written, filed, questioned, or preserved remains. Crossing an ocean does not erase paper. It only changes the view. This was not a slow homecoming. It looked like movement after pressure. Then comes Meghan Markle's American problem, cutting against everything her California era was meant to represent. For 5 years, the Duchess of Sussex cultivated democratic California, fundraisers, podcast positioning, political flirtation, and the assumption that Hollywood power would open a door for her. But according to Lady C's framing, Democrats themselves briefed that she was untouchable. Hollywood reached that conclusion first. Then the political world followed. The door did not slam once. It closed repeatedly, quietly, professionally, with one message attached: stop trying. The humiliating detail is the suggestion that friends around Gavin Newsom's biggest financial backer and the Getty family circle were allegedly briefing a royal biographer to make it stop. That is not welcoming someone into American public life. That is managing someone out without visible fingerprints. If Meghan could not enter politics, command Hollywood, or detach herself from Harry's title, then the calculation changes again. Lady C's line is devastating, a non-entity without him. Nobody briefed that gently, because it explains the panic behind the speed. If Harry's American position was under threat, Meghan's platform was under threat with it. Now put the timeline together. Handcuffs, immigration danger, Democratic coldness, Hollywood distance, political doors closing, a sudden relocation, a king allegedly informed late, a family returning to a country they spent years condemning. If an American immigration decision was taken on the 11th of August, as Lady C claims, then the king learning about it on a Sunday 2 weeks later is not a surprise. It is a schedule. Is it proven? No. It is Lady C's account, sourced to people she will not name. But if the trigger was America closing in, Britain was never the dream. Britain was the fallback. And the next door waiting for them was already locked. Britain was already preparing before Prince Harry and Meghan Markle arrived. And that changes everything. Whatever happened in America, it did not mean every door suddenly opened on this side of the Atlantic. According to the reporting, Britain had already drawn its own lines. The first obstacle was the role itself. A hybrid arrangement was finished long ago. The royal family had already made its answer unmistakable. There would be no keeping the Netflix money, the memoir royalties, the commercial deals, and the status of a working royal at the same time. Choose one. That decision did not arrive with this move. It had been waiting for them. So if Harry and Meghan were not returning as working royals, another question immediately took center stage. Who exactly would pay to protect them? That question did not come from anonymous commentators. It came from two former Home Secretaries, two men who had actually occupied the office responsible for approving royal protection. Their message was remarkably consistent. Security would not be automatic. It would be calibrated. Event by event, appearance by appearance, risk by risk, not permanent motorcades, not taxpayer-funded 24-hour armed protection. Suddenly, the security battle that had dominated Prince Harry's legal fights was waiting for him all over again. And this time, the political mood appeared even colder. Then came the comparison nobody inside the palace needed to explain. Queen Elizabeth II spent 70 years on the throne, sometimes traveling with only one backup vehicle, and she often drove herself. That image hangs over every modern security debate. Against that standard, requests for permanent armed protection look dramatically different. The comparison almost writes itself. Then, another signal arrived from the very top of British politics. Asked directly about protecting the king's son, the Prime Minister dismissed it as a private matter and moved on. No dramatic announcement. No promise of review, just distance. Sometimes, the shortest answer carries the biggest message. Even if that position softened, another ceiling already existed. Prince Andrew became the benchmark, not the working members of the royal family. That alone represented an enormous shift in status. Harry had once stood beside the future king as one of the monarchy's central figures. Now, according to this reporting, the comparison was no longer Prince William, Princess Catherine, or the working royals. It was Andrew. Power had quietly changed hands while Harry was building a new life overseas, and Britain had adjusted without waiting for his return. The next obstacle could not be solved by lawyers or politicians because it belonged to public opinion. Nobody needed to organize a boycott. According to the reporting, public sentiment had already arranged itself. The latest approval ratings painted an uncomfortable picture. Meghan Markle stood at just 22% favorability in the United Kingdom. Queen Camilla, once described for decades as Britain's most unpopular woman, stood at 43%, almost double. Then came the figure that completely altered the balance of power. The Prince of Wales stood at 76%. Read that carefully. Meghan was preparing to return to a country where Prince William enjoyed more than 3 times her level of public support. That is not merely an image problem. That is a power problem. A much smaller life suddenly appeared to be the reality on offer. Yet the reporting argues that the Sussexes helped build that trap themselves. Privacy became difficult to defend after books, documentaries, interviews, and public accusations repeatedly reopened family conflict. Door after door appeared to close, but another pressure was already traveling with them from America. The money. The financial questions were impossible to ignore. The reporting focused on indemnity costs, describing them as something far beyond an ordinary court award. Such costs are designed to punish. Then another uncomfortable reality followed. Every claimant could be held responsible for the entire bill, while associated newspapers could choose who ultimately paid it. Attention immediately turned toward the individual with the memoir advance, the Netflix agreement, and the highest earning potential. According to the reporting, the resources to comfortably absorb such costs simply were not there anymore. Court defeat. Financial pressure. Relocation. The sequence continued to build. But perhaps the biggest mystery arrived at the very moment everyone assumed the story was ending. Reports suggested the move to Britain itself might only be temporary. 6 months a trial run. That is not how families normally describe permanent relocation. It sounds like insurance. Even more striking was the suggestion that uncertainty was not coming only from newspapers. According to the reporting, confidence was lacking even inside Harry and Meghan's own camp. There was reportedly no certainty that Harry and Meghan together would remain in Britain for any significant or permanent period. That revelation changes the entire meaning of the move. If those closest to them are unsure about its longevity, then what exactly has been planned? The reporting is careful to draw a line. Nobody has confirmed a separation. Nobody has filed legal papers. The immigration decision has not been published. The costs have not yet been officially assessed. Lady C's account remains a briefing from unnamed sources rather than documentary proof, and it should be weighed exactly that way. Yet the surrounding reporting continued pointing in the same direction. Some estimates suggested only 1 year in Britain before another destination emerged: Canada, Australia. After 6 years building a California identity, the most optimistic prediction became just 12 months, and even the address itself appeared borrowed. One location suddenly entered the conversation: Wormleighton, the secondary Spencer estate on the Warwickshire border, once discussed as a possible home for Princess Diana after her divorce. Now Diana's son's possible landing place was reportedly being linked to the same estate. History appeared to be circling back on itself in an unexpected way, connecting mother and son across completely different royal crises. Then came perhaps the most revealing conclusion of all. According to one columnist, the true prize was not California, Hollywood, politics, or celebrity. It was status. Royal titles mean little in Los Angeles compared with what they still represent in Britain. That interpretation pulls every earlier event into one continuous chain. Funerals and court cases were once, in Prince Harry's own words, what Britain represented to him. Yet every condition he previously demanded had quietly disappeared. The security dispute, the refusal to bring Meghan, Archie, and Lilibet back, the insistence that Britain was impossible. Within 15 months, every one of those positions had collapsed. Prince Harry once said he could not imagine a world where he would bring his wife and children back to the United Kingdom. According to Lady C's account, he is now living inside that very world, not because Britain transformed, but because the alternative may have been closing around him. Whether that explanation ultimately proves correct remains unresolved. What cannot be ignored is the sequence: court defeat, financial pressure, political isolation, public rejection, questions over immigration, a rapid return, and a future that even those closest to the Sussexes reportedly struggle to describe as permanent. The move that was presented as a homecoming may instead become the opening chapter of an even larger royal crisis that has only just begun.